Knight was in Young Justice Part 1. Now, this is a what if I actually really excited for, and I wanted to do for a considerable amount of time. Now, let's just get into the what if, and let's get started. Now, basically, I pretty much put this idea of doing this what if on, I think, episode 2 of Moon Knight. Now, I went more into depth with the history of Moon Knight, because I already knew a little bit about Moon Knight before I watched the Moon Knight show. And now I'm going to be mixing those two elements together to make a, I guess, fluent character in the DC universe that is Mark Spector or Stephen Grant or Moon Knight or Mr. Knight. Now, basically, I don't know if they're, because I'm pretty sure Mark Spector is Moon Knight, but I don't know if Moon Knight or Mr. Knight are completely different personalities, and Mark Spector and Stephen Grant are different personalities as well. But in this canon, or in this what if, that might be the case. Now, basically, let's get into the what if. Now, originally, for the design of this what if, for the platform of this what if, I was going to start off with season 2 or season 3, because season 1, season 1's the best season, hands down. I'm sorry, guys, if you are more season 2 or season 3 person. I feel like season 1 has that feel of teenage, coming of age type hero stuff. And season 2, season 3, season 4, like they're all nitty and gritty. Like they really go into depth how DC Universe is a very dark universe. And it mainly all revolves around death and a bunch of other stuff. So honestly, I don't really like season 2. I like season 2, but I don't like season 3 at all. Season 3 was kind of sucky. But let's just get into the what if and start our story off with season 1, episode 1. Now, starting off the story, Mark wouldn't, or Steven wouldn't be a grown adult in this universe. After he would have the same origin as he would in the comics. Now, he would still have the same comic book origin. Sorry if I overlapsed it. Now, pretty much, he would, grow up the same after the dramatic trauma he would get from, his uncle, or yeah, I'm pretty sure it was uncle, pretty much taking him and sort of torturing him, still giving him his multiple personality disorder, but at a very young age. And pretty much it would have started to, Conchu would have came to Mark much earlier, about when he was about, let's say, 16 or 15. He would come to him when he's 16 or 15, mainly 16, and basically, you know, make him his champion or his avatar. Him wanting Mark at this age, since, Mark would have been a good enough body build. So when Mark is chosen to be Khonshu's champion or avatar, basically he's given the suit, as in the suit would have been magical, like in the show, but in the comics, the suit isn't magical. It's an actual suit Mark puts on. But for the sake of things, this suit is magical, but it doesn't come out of Mark. It basically is in, it's basically in a moon crescent. Contra would give this to Mark, give this to Mark, basically the crescent being the crescent on his symbol, or the crescent on his chest, basically it working like if he takes the crescent out, he can use it as a weapon, but also it also can pretty much summon right back to his hand. If it's farther than a mile, he can't, summon it to his hand. But if it's within a mile, he can summon it to his hand or to his chest and turn into Moon Knight. The suit basically, or the crescent, basically projecting a black, type of substance or goo at first all over Mark's body. Then it starts to pretty much, well, mold and shape a cape, some armor, pouches, and weapons. It also having some sort of wormhole type stuff in the pouches, him being able to pull out shurikens, moon crescents, and other knives and blades from out of nowhere from those little tiny, or those mediocre sized pouches that Batman normally has, but it would be a lot more bigger. Him carrying a lot more items and relics. Now, basically, he also would be accompanied by Khonshu at times of distress. Khonshu in this world being more of a jerk like in the comics, but being that sweet in between of a jerk and a helper of sorts. Now basically Khonshu would come to Mark at some distress or at some, levels of him almost dying or him being filled with rage, anxiety, and a bunch of other stuff, or if he's in a very, very tight spot that he can't get out of without, help. Now, basically, Khonshu would give Mark his, normal abilities that he would have in the comics, like his increased strength, agility, speed, reflexes, durability, also his fighting tactic, plus his power of him becoming stronger on a full moon or becoming faster and stronger on a full moon. Him also having his, training skill and doing this, pretty much doing when Mark was about, let's say, when Mark was about 14, he was off in Egypt. He was off, in Egyptia or not Egypt. He was off in Egypt. Egypt, yeah. He was off in Egypt, basically doing the same thing that would result of him becoming Moon Knight. When he does that, he basically spends 2 years in Egypt. Then he comes across the tomb, almost dies, and yada yada. Mark Spector is given the gift of pretty much or given the chance to become Khonshu's avatar at a very early age, about 16 or 17. But I'm gonna stick to about 16. Now, basically, what would happen is pretty much Mark would have gone through his life similar the same. Him still having the personal, the multiple personality disorder, and pretty much Mark Spector, and also Stephen Grant going head to head. But Stephen would have control of pretty much the body for a very long time, for a couple of years, and pretty much doing the day of what would happen Independence Day, I think it was. That's episode 1 was called. Basically, the Young Justice or the Teen Titan, not the Young Justice being formed on episode 2. And episode 1 and 2 would have taken place about the same day. Mark and, Steven would have found each other out. Mainly Steven being more surprised, Mark knowing that he was sharing a body with somebody else. But basically, as he would go head to head with, it or head to head to Steven, eventually they would come to a common ground. Doing episode 4, Drop Zone, everything would happen the same, and what would start to change morally, or what would start to change even more, would be episode, as pretty much doing episode 10 of season 1 targets, we see that Speedy or Red Arrow would have been near the premises of what happened in the original episode where the president's escort or some sort of, political party would have started to happen. But what would happen is Stretcher, I don't remember, I don't know how to pronounce her name. She basically would have started to, start right. Her shooting a bazooka, but it misfiring as not an arrow, but a moon crescent would have interrupted. Basically, Speedy being interrupted and him being confused on why his arrow, was deflected, because the moon crescent wanted to cut between the arrow from the tip, basically it going towards Stretcher's, bazooka. As Moon Knight would have stepped in, basically fighting against Stretcher, him going toe to toe with her, her eventually getting somewhat overpowered by Moon Knight. Moon Knight about to crack her neck or just straight up whoop the absolute dog water out of her, just having her by the neck and pinning her down to the ground. Stretcher would have been surrounded after she would have started to get away. Basically, Moon Knight being disorientated by some sort of sand or some sort of, or let's just say thing that she had in her pocket, basically disorientating Moon Knight's eyes, her running off, but Speedy's jumping in and kicking her out. Now, what happened is Moon Knight would have disappeared out of the smoke bomb, and Speedy would have said, that guy gave me some Batman vibes. Now, Speedy or Red Arrow would have gone or would have, everything in the episode would have gone similar the same. Just Speedy still figuring out or still trying to wonder who was that guy in the white hood. And basically what happened, we would switch to the rest of the episode and we would get switched back then. Pretty much we could still switch to, Connor and Megan's whole entire thing. But basically what happened is over time we would have seen more cuts of Mark in this episode. Us seeing, pretty much glimpses of him, and us seeing the Justice League talk somewhat about him. Mainly Batman in the Batcave talking about Moon Knight. Moon Knight would have been seen all around the world in Gotham, Metropolis, Happy Harbor, and a bunch of other places. Him going after certain god-like entities that were associated with the Egyptian gods during the Justice League's time or before the Justice League started to become bigger and started to recruit more people. Them going after smaller threats like people that thought they were, avatars of gods and they had powers of sorts. But little did they know they were actually avatars of those gods, of those Egyptian gods. And basically, what happened is Moon Knight would have gone after, multiple people that have committed sins, just doing the whole vengeance thing like he originally did in canon. Eventually, Moon Knight would have been able to track a specific target that pretty much Khonshu wanted him to go after. Over time, he would eventually, do that mission, but Khonshu would have gave him another mission to pretty much see out a very dark evil that's coming to the world, and him being told to stop the evil before it wreaks more havoc on Earth. Basically, Moon Knight, well, trying to pretty much set up shop in Happy Harbor since he would have seen that Happy Harbor would have happened. The event that would mainly cause little people to die would have happened near Happy Harbor. So he would have set up shop at Happy Harbor, find a nearby house, pay for it with a couple money, with some money, basically make up something about how, he's doing this and that his parents are out for, a couple days. Him basically going to Happy Harbor High School with Connor and Megan. Him being in the background. Now, Mark Spector would have looked somewhat like his comic book self, just, well, a 17-year-old, to be simple. Mark Spector is just a raggedy type dude, but let's just say he's scaled down to a 17-year-old body, and basically he's not ripped, but he's pretty muscular, about the same height as Superboy, maybe by a centimeter taller. Now basically, what happened is pretty much Moon Knight would have, well, or Mark would have made himself home at Happy Harbor School. Basically, him just staying there for the time being. Basically, him, just doing the whole school thing, and him just trying to do what Khonshu says, but also trying to do his whole thing. Because he is a avatar Khonshu, but he can still take down crime by his own free will. Now, after we switch over to episode 10, since most of the series doesn't really revolve around episode 10, and let's just skip to um, episode 14. Episode 14 is when we actually see an introduction to Moon Knight, or the rest of the team come across Moon Knight and basically see him, or come across Moon Knight and basically, well, let's just put it simple, actually interact with him for the very first time. Now, what happened doing this, we would basically see our boy, pretty much Moon Knight, pretty much saving people in pretty much Happy Harbor, and also saving people in Gotham. Him being able to get back and forth to some sort of portal Khonshu would have been able to get contact with. Now, Khonshu in this world would have had a lot more, let's just say, magical abilities. Him being able to conjure up portals for Moon Knight to go through. Basically, Moon Knight would have been saving people's life, as pretty much the plant monsters would have been starting to cause havoc. And over time, we would see that, well, the news would have gone crazy with this, and the Justice League all around the world would keep up appearances, saving people and taking down and trying to take down the threat, as the Young Justice or the team would have been sent after the real threat, the Injustice League. Now, basically, as the Injustice League would have sent their call out, basically them also saying something about Moon Knight, Joker specifically, Basically, Joker coming across Moon Knight at some point in Gotham on the first couple of years of Moon Knight being Moon Knight. Now, basically, because he would become Moon Knight at 16, but now he's about 17. Now, basically, pretty much what would happen is doing this. You'll see that pretty much they would have set some ground rules, and Robin would have gone over how many people and how many big hitters he had on their team. Now, what would happen? They would locate where this transmission, happened, or locate where they were, and they would send the team after them. Shazam being told to stay behind and pretty much help Santana, basically, or I guess Santana, basically, go up against the threat in Gotham City, and also Happy Harbor. Basically, Batman being switched to Gotham City. As Batman's setting off, smoke and basically trying to kill the plants as Shazam's helping him, we see pretty much what would be happening is Moon Knight would have jumped in. Moon Knight throwing a huge bomb towards one of the plant monsters near the swamp area where the Injustice League would have been. Now, basically, as he would be there, he would sense something passing by him, it being the bioship. As he would basically look around, he would notice the bioship was going in a certain way. Him noticing that it was some sort of ship. Khonshu telling him it was alien. Khonshu saying that, it wasn't from this world. Now, basically, Moon Knight follows the pretty much bioship through the swamp. Basically, him climbing and jumping through the pretty much swamp, him going all around the place. Now, as the team would have happened, or as the team's, conversations and interactions would have happened really all around exactly the same, as Moon Knight would have been following them slowly after. As this would be sundown, this would be Mark Spector. Now, basically, Mark Spector would have been chasing them with his adventurous outfit on, or just him having kind of a Indiana Jones type fit on, him following them. As they would get cornered in the swamp, pretty much Mark Spector wouldn't have his powers and you wouldn't be able to step in. Him, pretty much running off. Now, as Mark Spector would have still had the Moon Crescent on him trying to jump in, but seeing that the plants were pushing him out of the swamp, or trying to pull him in the swamp as he would cut them away, him trying to get out there as soon as possible. As he would just go underwater, basically him having the same to protect the team had with their whole entire portable, pretty much breathers that they can go underwater with, as he would follow them. As he would follow them, he would be in the bushes or in the trees, basically right behind them, as they would get cornered or they would be come across, Black Adam, basically Black Adam fighting against them, and pretty much, Vertigo, Black Adam, and a bunch of others would have started to fight against them. In this canon, multiple different members of the Injustice League would have been there alongside Vertigo. Now, Moon Knight, basically, since it was turning dark, and pretty much Khonshu didn't want Mark to get killed since he wasn't really at full strength. As this would be happening, we would say that pretty much Mark would have started to sense that, it was getting dark and his powers were starting to, manifest, and that he needed to summon the suit at one point. As he would go into the shadows, basically him, just wandering around, as it would turn dark, as he would be right behind, Robin. As he would summon the suit or activate the suit, putting the crescent or smacking it on his chest, as he would become Moon Knight. As he would be, pretty much, jumping through the forest, as pretty much Poison Ivy would have cornered both of them. Out of nowhere, a crescent moon batarang or some sort of, shuriken would have went flying right in the back of Gorilla, and also right in the back of the leg, right in the back of the calf, going right through her calf, basically, making Poison Ivy somewhat bleed out. As Poison Ivy would again so peed off, basically her shitting all she has at Robin, Miss Martian, and Moon Knight. As Moon Knight would have been dodging this, as Megan and Robin would have started to notice Moon Knight, him running across the place, and Moon Knight grabbing Robin, pushing him out the way of a big blast, as a huge plant would have started barreling towards Moon Knight, hitting him through the forest or through the swamp. As this would have happened, we would see that pretty much as the rest of the team were being as the rest of the team were captured, they would have been released as they were on the way back to the Injustice League's headquarters, as they would be interrupted by Robin and Moon Knight. As Moon Knight would have stepped in, him going against Vertigo. As Vertigo would have tried to get him, Khonshu would have been able to step in, him blocking his powers. Basically, Khonshu acting like a invisible supernatural shield. Basically, pretty much Moon Knight being able to get close to Vertigo and kick him upside the head, almost knocking him out. As Vertigo would have blast all he got or all he had at Moon Knight. Basically, Moon Knight would have started to be overpowered and get sick and drowsy. As Wally would have stepped in, him trying to save or help Moon Knight, not even knowing this dude, but knew he was a hero because of some news articles of blurry shots of him in Gotham City. As he would run around there, basically punching or pretty much sucker punching Vertigo into the swamp water. Now, basically, as the huge plant that was, controlling all the other plants around the world were blown up by, Robin's shurikens or bombs, as Robin would have looked down on Poison Ivy. Poison Ivy would get angry at him, and try to take him down. As Atomic Skull would have tried to go after Robin, as Moon Knight would have gone after, or Moon Knight would have started to go up against, well, pretty much Black Adam. As Black Adam would have said, I remember you. I've seen people like you. I've seen Guardians of Khonshu before. Basically, as Mark would have been, or Moon Knight would have said, surprising. Now, basically, yes, he would throw a shuriken towards Black Adam. He would jump away from Black Adam as quick as possible, trying to disorientate him. As Black Adam would have started to shoot lightning bolts, randomly, him trying to target Moon Knight. Moon Knight using his surroundings and sounds to pretty much, disorientate or pretty much take out the rest of the team. Or not the rest of the team, but basically disorientate Black Adam. As Black Adam would have started to get overpowered slightly, Moon Knight putting a lot of his, efforts into this. Basically, Moon Knight eventually noticing that it was a full moon. Him activating his true power as he would start to go beast mode. Basically, as the team were being overpowered by the magic user, as they would start to get overpowered and shocked with electricity. Pretty much, well, let's just say Calder or Aqualad was about to pull out the big guns, aka Dr. Fate's helmet, as Moon Knight would have stepped in, grabbing Dr. Fate's helmet and putting it on. Basically, him becoming, Dr. Fate. As Khonshu would have been infused with the Dr. Fate helmet, him going against the god that, was pretty much a part of Dr. Fate, as he would go against that god. As they would have a full on, pretty much mental battle, technically giving Mark full control of the magic of Dr. Fate. Him instantly one-shotting the magic user that was taking down the team, and basically started to one-shot him. Him causing a lot more let's say, bystander or damage to his surroundings. As he would start to overpower pretty much magic user, one-shotting him one more time, actually taking him out this time. And basically, after that, we will see it pretty much, he would have been able to just take the helmet off. Khonshu being very tired, and him using most of all his power to keep Dr. Fate at bay and allow pretty much Mark to take the helmet off at will. What would happen is Mark would take the helmet off, put his hood back on, and throw the helmet back to Calder. As pretty much he would disappear, as the rest of the team would have taken down Vertigo, Poison Ivy, and the rest of everybody on the Injustice League. As Moon Knight was about to leave, or about to, dip, the Justice League would have shown up, Batman noticing him from footage around Gotham City. As Batman would have told him to stop, basically Moon Knight looking at them saying, why? Basically, as Superman or the rest of the team would have started to, ask Moon Knight who was he, and, how did he find the team, and why did he help them. And basically, Moon Knight And Batman, would have known Moon Knight's methods. Him saying how Moon Knight did people in Gotham City, beating them to the bloodiest of pulps, and pretty much knocking the sense out of them. Some of them even getting brain concussions and permanent brain damage from Moon Knight's methods. Now, doing this, as they were talking, the the Justice League would have started to apprehend the other villains in the Justice League, but Joker would have said, "I'm not going to be taken so easily. I'm not going to give up." Him about to summon some plants to set off some Joker toxin. But before he could do that, a shuriken would have been sent flying, cutting off Joker's hand. Joker yelling out in pain. And basically, Joker would have looked around, and Moon Knight would have came out of nowhere, punching the absolute soul out of Joker. Joker would have fell into the sewage water, him falling down to the ground and being knocked out cold, his hand bleeding profusely, him grabbing Joker by the foot and tossing him towards Batman's feet. Basically, what would have happened, Moon Knight would have dashed off, but basically, Batman would have followed him into the swamp. Batman trying to talk to Moon Knight and give him a spot on the team. Moon Knight saying, "I'm not interested in the team." Now, basically, Khonshu would have been thinking about this, saying it might be a good idea. Moon Knight not really understanding and talking to Khonshu, as Batman would be kind of confused on why he was talking to himself. So basically, what would be happening is pretty much Khonshu would have said that this might be a good opportunity. I feel dark presence coming to Earth, and with the team's help, we could possibly get more information on these heroes, their secret identities, and they why indeed they are helping people of Earth. Now I know they're heroes, but still, this can be a big opportunity for us to become better, and also for us to get intel on this new team that Justice League is giving us a secret. And basically, Khonshu saying, and plus, I feel some sort of presence in that helmet. I want to come closer to that helmet. I want to find out its true power. Basically, Khonshu having a second, motivation of why he wants Moon Knight or Mark to join the Young Justice, but Khonshu would have said to join it for the meantime. Now, basically, Khonshu would have disappeared. Mark saying, "Okay." Basically, skip a couple days later, as Mark would have gone through processing and a bunch of other stuff, by him not allowing them to know his secret identity. Basically, Mark saying, "Why should you know my secret identity when I don't even know yours, Wonder Woman?" And basically, Black Canary and a bunch of other people trying to get Mark to open up. But Mark saying, "I'm just going to be on this team for a short amount of time." Them doing, some Martian Manhunter doing some mind probes, but him or Mark having such a messed up and scattered mind, him not even knowing who Mark or Stephen Grant or which body is really who belongs to which. And basically, what would be happening is pretty much it would be too much for Martian Manhunter to handle, since it would be the personality of Mark Spector, Mr. Knight, Moon Knight, Stephen Grant, and a bunch of others, pretty much it being some other personalities as well. Basically, to put it simple, Moon Knight would have overpowered or overwhelmed Martian Manhunter. But eventually they would have came to the conclusion that they could trust, Moon Knight. After this, the Injustice League would have been taken care of. The light would have shown themselves on who was on the light. Vandal Savage, Lex Luthor, and a bunch of others. And us being switched off from episode 14. Now I'm going to continue with episode 15 and episode 16 and see how the team would react, or see how the team is going to, let's just say, introduce Moon Knight onto the team. Now, pretty much since I did start this off near the end of the series, episode 15, 16, and also episode 17 and 18 are going to be more about Moon Knight and how he would interact with the other team members. And the rest of the series is going to be, normal what if, Young Justice thing I do. But basically, I'm going to make this a lot more emotional, though. And I'm going to go way more into depth of Mark Spector, because mainly all of this was Mark Spector in control but Stephen Grant is going to have control, or going to be, Mr. Knight is going to be introduced in part 2. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you like and subscribe. I know this video was a little bit dry, but part 2 is going to be a lot more, I guess, action-packed. And also, it's going to be a lot more better put together. Now, basically, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys like and subscribe. And as always, guys, have a blessed day.